What's up? What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel Sports, Life, and Politics TV. Today is January 6th. I'm Samuel Koppel, and I'm here for the news. And I've been covering this case of Bryan Kohberger. He's been suspected of murdering 4 students in their sleep. There were actually 6 students in the house. And for the information I've been able to gather, he actually went upstairs and killed them. I think there were 2 students who were down on the floor level, and he went right past them and killed them 4 at the top. That right there, that's like a clue. You know, everybody likes to play couch detective. I don't care who you are. That's why TV shows like CSI, mystery shows, board games like Clue, or movies like Knives Out. Just over the course of our life, I grew up watching my grandmother watching Perry Mason, Murder, She Wrote. You could go on and on, show after show. Everybody likes to play a piece of couch detective. And that's what we're doing right here. And that's why I've been covering this actual case, because it's always mysterious when 4 people wind up dead and there's 2 other people in the house and they don't get killed. And it raises questions. Was it ritualistic? I seen on TMZ today that Bryan Kohberger's sister was actually in a horror movie. And in the horror movie, people were stabbed to death. Interesting. That's my Negro spidey senses start to tingle a little bit. Me personally, I do think this was a ritualistic killing. And to me, there's no doubt that there's more to this story than just a man going into a house and killing some people. Yes, he might have been a sociopath and a narcissist and all of those things involved, but when I look at the address, 1122 equals 33, my senses start to tingle, y'all. Was his father, are they in the wicked? What kind of religion background was he raised in? Did he grow up torturing small animals? You just never know. You never know. But we're going to check out a small news clip right here, and it's giving more clues and details to exactly what happened leading up to those murders and therefore after. Let's take a look.
We are tracking breaking news into our Fox 13 newsroom. We have access to the affidavit in the Moscow murder investigation. Thank you for joining us here. I'm Liz DeWicki.
I'm Bill Wixie, and a lot of new details coming in with these documents being released. Brian Flores is in studio with us right now. You've been pouring through these documents, and a lot of new information revealed.
Yeah, several new documents revealed, a lot of new information in terms of what may have happened here were also revealed. So what was released, just in case you're joining us, include the previously sealed affidavit, probable cause order, arrest warrant, criminal complaint, and other documents as well. The affidavit, though, is where we are learning a lot more details into what led up to this.
And in the affidavit, they actually gonna tell you. I asked a question in the last video. How did they catch him? What evidence did they have to arrest him? And the questions that I asked, was it DNA? Was it cell phone pinging? Was it social media? Was it a camera that caught his car? What was it exactly did they use or did they have in evidence to arrest him? And come to find out, you guys, it was all of the above. All of the above. They used all the tools in the toolbox to catch Bryan Kohberger.
Arrest. Now, though the documents, we've learned that investigators got the DNA sample. This was a key piece of evidence here. The DNA sample came from a button snap of a knife sheath that was left behind. Now, in terms of timeline, we're learning a lot more about that as well. We understand 2 of the victims, Kaylee Gongalves and Madison Mogan, they went to get food at a place called the Grub Truck in the early morning hours of November 13th, roughly around 1 o'clock in the morning. They came back to the home, and around 4 in the morning, Gongalves apparently was heard saying the phrase, "There's someone here." It goes on to describe a person in there, described as a skinny build, a man who was masked in there as well. Investigators also discovered...
And that's interesting. Like I said in the other videos, there were 2 other people in the house, and they didn't get touched or harmed. For some reason, this guy wanted to kill these people, them 4 particular ones. I can't wait to hear more evidence to why exactly they were able to escape. And in the DNA, they was using all these Ancestry.com, I mean not Ancestry, but Ancestry DNA and 23andMe and all these sites that people use to find out their genetic background. Am I 23% sub-Saharan African? Am I 8% Irish? Am I 9% Native American? Like people trying to figure out, but you know, for a long time, people have been saying that they're using these people's DNA for other means. And now that we know they're using them to solve crime, and on face value, that's not bad. But what else are they going to start using this for? What else are we going to find out that they're using our DNA for? That's why I never took none of that shit. Never.
A latent shoe print eventually that had a diamond shape similar to Van shoes, if you've ever seen shoes like that. Now we're learning the suspect's car did not have a front license plate at the time of the crime based on surveillance footage, but that car eventually ended up on campus at WSU, which is only about 10 minutes away from the University of Idaho campus, early in the morning the next day. We're also learning that a WSU police officer did a cross-check on white Hyundai Elantras. Do you remember that search for the Hyundai Elantras? They found that one had a Pennsylvania license plate, which was eventually connected to Kohberger. We've also learned that investigators were able to cross-reference the movement of the Elantra to Bryan Kohberger's cell phone. Now, what's also interesting here, guys, according to the affidavit, is that Kohberger applied for an internship with the Pullman Police Department in the fall of last year, and that he wrote an essay that he had interest in assisting police with how to better collect and analyze technological data. They also confirmed, and this was suspicion before, that he posted a Reddit survey asking for...
Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think this is his first time killing? I don't. I mean, I could be wrong. You always leave room that you could possibly be wrong, but he's looked like he's harmed somebody before and looked like he's probably gotten away with it.
Participants on understanding emotions when committing a crime. Now, through cell phone records, we've learned that Kohberger allegedly visited the victim's home or the area at the victim's home at least 12 times prior to November 13th. We also understand that...
They say he either visited or was in that area 12 times. Was he there partying? Was he in the house, directly in the house? Was he just around there doing surveillance? This is interesting. This is going to get really interesting because if he was around this house at least 12 times, that means either he been in the house and he knew the layout and where everybody was at and kind of knew the actions, or he was stalking the people in the house and he kind of knew everybody's comings and going and was waiting, lying in wait to get in there and kill.
Went back to the Pennsylvania home and dug through the trash to get the father's DNA sample again to make a match. So again, investigators had a single source DNA that came from the knife sheath. Then with help from the WSU police, they were able to identify a suspect car, track that, and then substantiate the car's movements with help from the FBI through his cell phone. So a lot of information just being uncovered right now. So what's going to be happening next? Well, Kohberger is expected to be in court within the next few minutes here. PC documents are also going to reveal possibly a motive. We're seeing on top of this story, and we'll bring you the very latest throughout the morning. If not, stay with us here on Fox 13, as well as fox13seattle.com. Guys, back over to you.
And as those documents help us fill in the gaps of what happened that night, we're also learning more about the FBI investigation into Kohberger himself.
Yeah, they actually tracked him all the way to Idaho from Pennsylvania, asking police to pull him over twice. So Dan Griffin joins us live from the newsroom here. Dan, we're actually getting a look at the body cam footage from those traffic stops from Idaho to Pennsylvania. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
So the FBI was on his ass already. They were just gathering evidence. They just kind of want to see, you know, if he had any bumps, bruises, cuts, anything, if he would be stressed. They want to look in his face. They want to read his body language, all that shit. Listen to me. They have the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, they have such sophisticated equipment and what you call that shit? What's the word I'm looking for? Algorithms. And they can basically put some shit in the computer. They can read your body language. They can look at all. They can put all that shit in the computer, all your information, and almost damn near tell you who you are. So they most definitely want to get a look at him, and they most definitely want to see his body language and his facial expressions when they pull his ass over.
You know, and those made a big difference here. New details reveal the FBI surveillance team was seeking video images of Bryan Kohberger in his hands, looking for any injuries. That's according to a law enforcement officer who spoke to Fox News. Now, Kohberger and his father were making their way across the country, from what we understand, from Washington State, headed to Pennsylvania. Kohberger, obviously, is a teaching assistant and PhD student at Wazoo's Department of Criminal Justice. His father flew out to Washington State to ride with him to their home in Pennsylvania for the holidays. And as the two continued toward their destination, police in Indiana stopped them twice on December 15th. Now, the source who spoke to Fox News said...
And this is another thing. When they pulled him over, they was hoping he like took off or went on a high-speed check. They were praying he did something like that too. So, you know what I mean? That makes the case even easier because you don't run. But see, this man also had a degree in, I think, criminal law. So he was smart enough to know not to take off and make himself look guilty. Because some people panic, man. They want to pull him over to see how stressed he was, to see if he'd make a downhill move and make their case even easier.
Investigators were still building a case to make an arrest. They said genealogy played a big role. We'll stay with that here for just a second because I'm going to bring that back up here in just a moment based on those documents Bryan was just talking about. Kohberger says since been charged, obviously, in the murders of the 4 University of Idaho students in Moscow on November 13th. But at that time, as the case was being built, these traffic stops proved important in tracking their suspect. During the stop with Hancock County, Indiana Police Department, the father and son discussed an incident with the officer describing a SWAT team killing an armed man in a standoff near Wazoo. Take a listen.
Take a look at your driver's license real quick, like that. See, he's right up on that van, man. He was right up on the back end of that van. Pulled you over for tailgate. Okay, I'm having a hard time hearing you because of the traffic. So you're coming from Washington State University, and you're going where? Oh, okay.
All right, so the 2 traffic stops gave investigators a closer look at Kohberger. They also gave a better idea of where he was at the time as the case was coming together. Now, at the time of the stops in Indiana, he and his father were more than 30 hours away, more than 2,000-mile drive from Pullman. And this morning, he's back in Idaho right now in court, going to be facing a judge there. But these documents here that we've been reviewing, Bryan and I, this morning, really paint an interesting picture here, talking about DNA. They mentioned genealogy being a major thing here. Well, according to this, as we were saying, in December, they were able to go through some trash. They were able to get evidence there to get this DNA checked and sent off to a lab in Idaho. And it says at least 99.998% of the male population would be expected to be excluded, if except for the possibility of being the suspect's biological father. So they've been able to really work hard to piece these pieces together. Obviously, we're going to keep going through these documents, keep working on this, and we're going to bring you the latest throughout the day. But for now, we're live here in the newsroom. Dan Griffin, Fox 13 News.
Very, very interesting. We have a little more evidence. We actually have the affidavit where they actually tell you why they arrested him and what evidence they had to arrest him. And as you can see, they're using all the tools, man. They had what they say DNA, which DNA by itself wasn't enough because there was a lot of people in that house. I think they threw a lot of parties in that house. So that wouldn't just be enough. They had cell phone pinging. They had a camera of catching his car going away. They had his cell phone pinged. He was in the area at least 12 different times. So it's going to be interesting. But murder cases are tough because once you get in that courtroom, some evidence might not be able to use. Some evidence might find out it ain't what they said it was. You know, that's why you can't try a case through the court of public opinion. You just can't. But it is fantastic and interesting to be able to play a little couch detective, something we all like to do. Bryan Kohberger, suspect in the murder of 4 Idaho State students, has now been extradited back to Idaho, waiting to face trial because he's going to plead not guilty. And that trial might not take place for at least another year. But there will be more and more evidence and more clues that they will be releasing over the next couple weeks. And, you know, I might do another video on this before the trial. But, you know, after that, I'm not going to cover it until the trial. I'm not going to just keep going over and over. But, yeah, this is an interesting case. And I've been covering it from the jump. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hit that like, Hit that subscribe. I just took your ass on a sports, life, and politics TV ride. Peace.